I mean, ultimately, it's to bring awareness and make people, realize what's really going on in this country. There are a lot of things that are going on that are unjust, people aren't being held accountable for, and that's something that needs to change. That's something that, this country stands for freedom, liberty, justice for all. And it's not happening for all right now. These aren't new situations. This isn't new ground. It's things that have gone on in this country for years and years and have never been addressed. I'll continue to sit. I'm going to continue to stand with the people that are being oppressed. To me, this is something that has to change. And when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
Is there anything more beyond reason than being lectured by someone who makes millions of dollars, someone who has had every opportunity afforded to him that you can possibly imagine, someone who's famous, someone who has been to the Super Bowl, someone who was adopted by a white family? Is it any more beyond reason? Is there anything more beyond reason than being lectured by him about the oppression of your country? I mean, if they're really trying to get people on their side, is this the best way to do it? Because this goes beyond just, Black Lives Matter. It goes beyond dealing with racial issues. This is outright hatred for your country, is what he's showing. He won't stand for the anthem of his country that has afforded him more opportunity than he could get anywhere else in the world. Because he says his people are being oppressed. Oppressed? We have issues in this country, yes. But nobody in this country really knows true oppression. Read history. We have the freest, not only do we have one of the freest, most prosperous, most richest countries in the world today, but we have one of the most freest, prosperous, more opportunity given to us in this country than most countries in the history of civilization. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I do this show every Monday and Friday. I am your voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. There is no doubt that has been the big news of the day. A stupid, selfish football player who won't stand for the national anthem, who has done nothing to really help this situation, and who is now making it worse and might even take part of the NFL down with him, as other NFL players are starting to do the same. But I want to talk a little bit more than just the implications of this in terms of Black Lives Matter, in terms of the future of the NFL, in terms of the national anthem and all that stuff. I want to look at it as a society as a whole. The damage this kind of stuff can do to our society. We have now become the Beyond Reason society. It is now the Beyond Reason country. It is now a Beyond Reason world. And there are certain things I'm going to point out in just this first segment that show you. And I'm going to ask, how does a society survive these things? Because we have a very great society here. But it's not guaranteed to last forever. Once again, all you have to do is read history. And when things like this happens, it worries me. I'm going to be honest. How beyond reason is it that a guy in this country who was given all the opportunities of this country won't stand up for the flag? But Usain Bolt at the Olympics, and the videos went viral, Usain Bolt, fastest man in the world at the Olympics, who's not even a part of this country, was not even racing for this country, not even racing for the U.S., he cut off an interview because he wanted to show respect for our national anthem. The national anthem started playing, and he stopped the interview and stood there to show respect for our national anthem. You have someone from outside of our own country who's black, outside of our own country, who shows respect for our national anthem, and then people in this country who have had so much opportunity, so many blessings, so many riches, so much going for them because of this country, and they won't show it. And they won't stand up for it. And you have blacks, and I've heard there have been some blacks that have come out against them because they've fought and died for that flag themselves. But to talk about oppression, but this is what's happening because it's gone beyond just Black Lives Matter, talking about racial issues. This is outright hatred for your country. How does a society survive that when now it is cool in your country to hate your own country? The Beyond Reason Society. And this continues some other stories that are out there. There was a South Carolina high school principal who decided that he was not going to put up American flags at football games. He was not going to put up American flags at football games. It was a principal at a South Carolina high school. He has recently reversed his decision because of all the backlash. But he was not going to do it. Why? Because he thought it would offend some Hispanics at the game. We're in America. They're allowed to play football and do that sport and have fun because we're in America. And they wanted to ban the very flag that gave them that right at those games because it might offend some Hispanic players. The Beyond Reason Society. The Beyond Reason Society. How does a society survive these things? What else? What else can I find here? You have Anthony Weiner, a big-time politician who once again is caught up in a sexting scandal. And now his wife leaves him. His wife works for Hillary Clinton, who will not leave her husband, who has probably done 10 times worse than Anthony Weiner. Why? Because of political power and opportunity. And we're supposed to love these people. He did that. He posted a sexting photo while his son was in the bed with him. And yet he has power and opportunity. The Beyond Reason Society continues. What next? Well, there was a medical school dean that admitted that faculty obtained fetal brains, yes, human fetal brains from aborted fetuses, and had his students do autopsies on them. Wow. The Beyond Reason Society. This was, found this on the Blaze. It was a video that went viral. University of New Mexico Medical School Dean Paul Roth, addressing the claims on camera, admitted that they used fetal tissue to do dissections. How does a society survive these things? What else is happening in the Beyond Reason Society? I found this from the Conservative Review. Headline: How confused is our society? Some people now throw divorce parties. So not only are more and more people getting divorces, but now they party about it. Yay. So happy. Last week, the University of Washington published a study that captures patterns in divorce file based on the time of year. The first quantitative evidence of seasonal biannual pattern of filings for divorce. So what's happening? More and more people are throwing divorce parties. The culture of divorce in America has gotten so bad that it's actually treated as an occasion for celebration among some circles. They throw divorce parties, as was reported in the Huffington Post. How does a society survive if hatred of your country exists by people who, the most prosperous people in your country? How does a society survive if our leaders are as corrupt and as disgusting as Anthony Weiner and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton? How does a society survive if divorce is seen as something to celebrate, where marriage is not really seen as a good thing, as a real commitment anymore? How does a society survive? How does a society survive where high schools are afraid to put the flag up representing that country and that society? The Beyond Reason Society. Another story for you in the Beyond Reason Society. Federal deficits explode. Is anyone paying attention? I got this from Investors Business Daily. Came out last week. The Congressional Budget Office says the federal deficit will be 33% higher than last year's. Over the long term, the deficit picture is just as bleak. But are any of the candidates talking about it? Are Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton talking about this? How does a society survive when we don't care about how much debt we're piling on? More evidence of the Beyond Reason Society. Another evidence of the Beyond Reason Society, the Wall Street Journal today came out and says we should not use $100 bills anymore. We should ban $100 bills or higher because it's not safe. We're going to a digital currency. That's right. All of your money will be then controlled by the banks and the government more than it already is. How does this society survive when you don't have private property rights as you used to? These are foundational things that a society needs to survive, to have cohesion, to prosper. This doesn't mean I'm against change. I'm not against change, obviously. I love new technology. Anyone who knows me knows that. There were some things in our society that needed to change, like ending slavery and other kinds of oppression. And we did that, and we fought a war to do it. And other amendments needed to happen. But we're talking about very foundational things here. Very fundamental things here. Merely respect for your country and the flag and the anthem. When more and more people decide they don't want to do that, and this is not only happening in the NFL, it's been happening in schools forever. People burn the flags in protest. That's hatred for your country. How does a society survive when more and more actually hate it like they do for stupid reasons? So you have hatred for your country. You have civilization, family structures. That is the core of civilization being undermined as more and more people get divorced. More and more people don't understand marriage. And more people throw divorce parties. How does a society survive? How does this society survive when the government keeps spending and spending and spending and spending without any know how to pay it back? How does a society survive? How does a society survive where we don't value human life at its very core? The most innocent of life in the womb, who literally is dependent on you, and we throw it away like it's trash or use it for medical experiments. How does a society survive? And the worst part of it all, and I'm going to talk about this more in the next segment, belief in God. While 89% of people in this country still believe in God, as I talked about on Friday's show, I also talked about on Friday's show how more and more people don't go to church. More and more churches are failing at their job, and less and less people are becoming religious. And there is no doubt that less and less people are believing in God. The atheist movement is winning. Well, they haven't won, but they've gained traction over the years. There's no doubt about that. I have a great article here, which I'm going to get into the next segment, by somebody, Catholic writer, who talked about in Europe. Europe was a great example of what he called the God deficit and what that is doing to their society. And it's not good, and usually it involves bigger and bigger government and less rights for the individual. There's a reason why we need these things. So when you think about what Kaepernick is doing, when you think about the idea more NFL players are doing it, even though they're rich and they're prosperous and they have amazing opportunities and amazing fame because of this country, because of this society, they still hate it. And there's bigger implications than Black Lives Matter, black crime, police, NFL, the usual patriotic stuff. This goes beyond that. When you put all of these things together, it goes beyond the foundations of our civilization crumbling. Now, this has happened in history before. There are times when it seemed like it would happen in this country. You can fight. That's why people like me fight to keep it. It's a constant struggle. But I just want to make you aware of these things and have you look deeper into them than we are used to doing. Because it's troubling. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio. You can comment on the show on Facebook Live, as I do the show every Monday and Friday. You can also comment on the Beyond Reason Radio app. I would download the Beyond Reason Radio app. It's one of the best one of the best ways to get the show. If you can get the podcast of it later, or you can listen to it live there as well. I'm going to get to a lot of other things, including some Beyond Reason economics. I've talked a lot about economics because no one else is talking about it. We seem to forget that the economy still is terrible. We seem to forget about that. It's not even that big of an issue in this campaign right now. What's happening to our economy? So I'm going to talk about that. Next segment, I'm going to talk about the God deficit, and I'm going to end the show with stories so beyond reason they will leave you flabbergasted. This is Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app and Facebook Live, and I will be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
Get Yaffee's take on the Beyond Reason issues every day. Follow him on Twitter at Beyond Reason R. That's Beyond Reason and the letter R.
Welcome back. This is Orlando Smart Talk Radio. You're listening to another edition of Beyond Reason Radio, which I do every Monday and Friday right here at 8 p.m. A lot to talk about. You can comment on Facebook and you can comment on the app. I have a comment from Amy on the app who says the ideas of divorce parties are absolutely repugnant. I couldn't agree more. But I mean, this is foundational to our society as a whole, the family structure, which, by the way, Black Lives Matter, the actual organization, if you go to the website, they don't care about the family structure. They want to go against that. They think it's the village. The village is what should raise your society. We'll see how that goes. And speaking of that, one of the most troubling things is taking God out of society. I don't come from this as, I don't do this as someone who is perfect. I fall very short. But there's something to be said of a society and individuals who at least have a standard that they, try to get to and try to uphold and at least have some shame when they do things that are wrong. We don't even have shame anymore. How does, like Anthony Weiner, he has no shame. When he's sexting while his son's in the bed with him and someone other than his wife, and he's done this in the past, he has no shame. We don't even have shame anymore. How does a society survive without shame? Well, maybe one of the reasons why this is happening is what some are calling the God deficit. The God deficit. I give credit to PJ Media for pointing this out to me, pjmedia.com. There's a Catholic writer out there, and his name is George Weigel. He penned a warning along such lines. Now, he's talking about Europe. Europe's a good way for us, a good warning for us on what we need to do. He posted that for reasons both religious and secular, the decline in the practices and understandings of Christianity leads to cultural decline as well. What have I been talking about? He wrote that as Christianity declines, so too does the commitment to Christian social, ethical values. And one thing he points out that's really interesting about this is what happened when Christian practices, Christian values, the Judeo-Christian ethic goes away in a society, another foundation of ours. It's something you might not think about, but it's really important. Social ethical principles of subsidiarity. What's that? It's the idea that decision-making should be left at the lowest possible level. You know, like American federalism at the state level and the local levels. Alexis de Tocqueville talked about that. Talked about one thing he liked about America in the beginning was that the government wasn't in charge. You had smaller groups doing certain things, taking care of themselves, taking care of their neighbors. Communal groups. And one of those groups, the smallest of that, of course, is the family. But outside of that, you have churches and other groups. But what happens when you take away Christian practices, when you take away the church, is what I'm saying, the church, and fellowship with other Christians. And you know, this is something I fall into as well, because there are a lot of times I don't want to go to church. I have so many problems with so many churches because they don't get it. And that's why Weigel here said, you know, it's just as much a problem in Christianity as it is a secular problem. There's two reasons why this is happening. So the churches need to wake up as well. I'm not saying they're not to blame here. But what he's saying is that when you take away those small groups, when you take away those foundational community aspects of our society, our civilization, the family, the church, the local community, when you take that away, there's a vacuum. I've talked about many times before, the spiritual vacuum that's happening in the world. That vacuum has to be filled. The vacuum of taking away these communal groups has to be filled. So what is it filled with? What do you think it's filled with? It's usually filled with what he says is heavily centralized, heavy bureaucratized, heavily bureaucratized system runs afoul of subsidiarity. What he's saying is government is what goes in and takes that. Bureaucracies, heavy bureaucracies are where you go, and they tend to control more and more of your life. A heavy, centralized government tends to control more of your life. They're the ones who tell you how to raise your family. They're the ones who tell you how to live. They're the ones who put more and more and more and more laws telling you how to live, telling you how to run your business, telling you how you can be educated, telling you how your family can work, so if you can even have a family. And usually that leads to totalitarianism, which is tyranny. That leads to tyranny. Think about that for a second. We live in a free country, and one of the reasons we live in a free country is we don't need the government to do all these things for us. We have other private institutions that can do it. But when we take away those foundations one by one, then somebody's got to step in and fill the vacuum. Somebody's got to step in and take control. And who is it usually? Big government. So another reason why you might think, and he points out in this article, why governments take more and more control and why there's more and more anger out there in our political season is because they expect the government to do these things. When things are a problem, instead of going to their own communities, instead of going to their churches. Instead of working as individuals and as families, they expect the government and other people to step in for them and do it. Interesting how similar that is to what Kaepernick's doing. Kaepernick, who recently converted to Islam, by the way. Kaepernick doesn't want to actually do anything himself. He's sitting down saying, my country's oppressing people, and this brings awareness, but he's not actually going into these communities. He's not actually going with his family. He's not actually doing anything. Someone else is supposed to do that as he makes millions of dollars. That's what happens. How does a society survive? Well, if it doesn't survive, if a free society collapses, something will fill that vacuum. And, the spiritual vacuum, I need to write a book on the spiritual vacuum because there's so much there. The spiritual vacuum it's over the world. But what's happening? You have competing forces trying to fill that vacuum. Why do you think radical Islam is so successful sometimes at recruiting people? Because the spiritual vacuum has to be filled, and they're competing to try to fill it. Why do you think government is so successful at growing bigger and growing bigger and growing bigger? Because the spiritual vacuum. So it's going to be filled with big government. There's a lot of other stuff as well. So how does a society survive? And what's so sad is a lot of these people, they don't realize what this means. They don't know their history. They don't know what all this can mean. Kaepernick doesn't understand that his millions of dollars, that the NFL, that the National Football League, that a prosperous society that we have now that affords him that opportunity is not guaranteed. It can go away. Especially if our society continues to decline. It can go away. It has gone away in other countries. In fact, a great example of this, I was debating whether I wanted to play this, but I think I am going to play it. A great example of this is what is going on in Venezuela. Venezuela was taken over by Hugo Chavez, a socialist dictator, and they're having all kinds of problems. And I talked about last week that one of the things that really concerned me was their gun grab. They're literally taking guns from people, and in the public square, for everyone to see and for the media to see as well, they're destroying the guns in front of everyone. You don't have the right to have a gun. Why are they doing that? Because they're afraid of revolution. Because people there are starting to starve. There's chaos. The economy is terrible. All because of socialism. And I found a video from Conservative Review by Matt Kibbe. I've read a couple of his books. He's a big-time libertarian. And he says it probably better than I could on the problems of socialism, the problems of the gun grab there, and how we need to be warned. Now, what does this have to do with the decline of society? Because socialism grows as Christianity falls, as the small community groups falls, as those other foundational things fall, the government will take more and more of it. And you think it's going to be better? No, it's going to be worse. That's why I fight for our faith. That's why I fight for our culture. That's why I fight for individual liberty in the Constitution. Listen to this audio. Makes a lot of sense here.
History repeats, and socialists always grab the guns. In 2012, socialist dictator Hugo Chavez decreed that no citizen of Venezuela would be permitted to own a weapon or even ammunition. His goal was explicit: disarm the public. Current socialist dictator Nicolas Maduro has decreed that he will double down on the Chavez policy, publicly seizing weapons and destroying them in a square in Caracas. The message is clear. History repeats. In 1974, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge, once they took power, proceeded to disarm every Cambodian, going from village to village, knocking on doors. One woman tells the story of soldiers showing up at her doorstep. She was told that she no longer needed weapons because the government was now there to keep her safe. Of course, over the next 4 years, Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge proceeded to slaughter 1 in 4 Cambodians. Some publicly assassinated for being disloyal to the government. Others worked to death. Others simply starved. History repeats. In Venezuela today, the gun grab follows draconian policies that have blocked moms from crossing into Colombia to get food for their children, has followed a socialist government military takeover of the food supply. Now, if you want to feed your children, you have to prove that you are loyal to the Maduro government. History repeats itself. I wonder why we don't learn from history. Socialism kills.
Socialism kills. Exactly right. You are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app. Stay tuned.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back, everyone. This is your voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. Another episode of Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app. I thank you all for joining me as usual. So, talking a lot about the Beyond Reason world. I've been talking a lot about how the foundations of our society, it's not good. It's crumbling. It can be very destructive when we have people who won't stand for the anthem publicly because now they hate our society. But I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's not getting a lot of attention. I wanted to talk about some beyond reason politics. Not beyond reason economics. And politics is related. Because we're not talking about, really in this campaign or anything, the economy is still not that good. The economy is still terrible. Obama has not helped the economy, and he's not in. What do we do? Now we have two candidates who want to grow government. Obviously, growing government isn't working. Yet they continue to do that. Let me talk first. Let me give you some stats here on what the economy looks like, though. So far, the GDP, the average GDP for the year, for the second quarter, is just 1.1%. That's the growth. The average gross domestic product growth for the year is 1.1%. The first quarter had 0.8% growth. I thought we were in economic recovery. I thought things were all great. Not so much. To get to the 3% for the year, the economy would need to grow at 5% for the last two quarters. Of course, that's not going to happen. Why is this significant? Well, the economy, for one, has not grown above 4% since 2000 and not grown above 3% since 2005, which is interesting because that's when we really started to spend, where the government started to spend more and more money. From 2006 to 2015, the average gross domestic product, the average for all those years, 1.41%. That makes it the slowest 10-year period of economic growth since 1930 to 39. The Great Depression, by the way. Average of 1.33%. It's just not looking good. From 1947 to 2004, the economy averaged 3.45% of growth each year. That's how much of a difference is. Used to be good to grow about 3 to 4 to 5%. Now, from 1976 to 2000, income growth averaged about 4.6% a year. Now, income growth is about 1.4%. All this is we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Oh boy, who's going to do more of the same? Aren't you just looking forward to that? And what's amazing is what Obama and others, they're doing more and more of the same, which is making it worse. For instance, there's another job-killing rule that the Obama administration has put out. The Obama administration's zeal for more job-crushing and growth, this is from Investors Business Daily, by the way. Growth-smothering regulations can neither be denied or overstated. They undercut economic competitiveness. Here we go. One of the administration's latest misguided efforts that is guaranteed to undercut economic competitiveness as well as weaken the investment climate needed to stimulate stronger job growth in America is being ushered in through the Treasury. Apparently, Treasury Section 385 will make it more difficult for U.S.-based companies, which are already subject to the highest corporate taxing, rate, to reduce their domestic corporate tax liabilities by relocating overseas in countries that have far more competitive tax structures than the U.S. So instead of being smart, in lowering our own corporate tax rate, which needs to happen, that would be the smart thing to do to be more competitive. We're going to punish companies who are trying to get away from that higher tax. So instead of lowering the tax, we're just going to make it a punishment, a tax liability if they try to go overseas. Instead of dealing with the core reason why they're going overseas, they're going to punish them. Another regulation. What's amazing, though, is they put these regulations, they'll say, the companies will just stay then. Or they'll just go out of business. The more, people think if we keep raising minimum wage, if we keep raising the regulations, the economic output will continue. The companies can just afford the higher wages. Some can, but a lot can't. So what happens? They just go out of business. So what happens? The economy doesn't grow. What happens? Economic decline. Yes, it's possible. It's happening. I just gave you the stats on how the economy is not growing. Yet we're doing the same thing. Another year, another regulation. New EPA regulations are out. Obama, as he's trying to leave office, instead of trying to cut taxes, instead of trying to cut regulations, has actually done another massive regulation. This time to the EPA. This is what he does. You remember I talk about bureaucracies, how they tend to control things. This is what's happening. And none of this is even done through Congress. It's just done by fiat of the president and the bureaucracies. Is from Conservative Review, to make energy more expensive for Americans. That has been Obama's goal. But he has a new one. He couldn't pass cap and trade, so he's passing another type regulations through the environment, through executive order, obviously, and the EPA. The memorandum consists of 34 pages of bureaucratic gobbledygook. That's what it says. Gobbledygook, I guess is the better way to say that. That would cause the average citizen's eyes to glaze over long before wading through it. It gives more power to the EPA. Here we go. With a stroke of a pen, some unspecified wizard is going to tell the gaggle of federal agencies, bureaus, departments, etc., how to predict the future of the climate, even detailing its indirect effects. And by doing this, they're going to add more regulations on the energy business, another foundation of our economy, to get all this done. All while our economy grows 1%, less than 1%, and wages are not increasing like they should. And we're going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Oh. And by the way, the electoral map, I wanted to actually get that up here. The electoral map for Trump is not looking good. Because people are looking at the national polls, and some of the national polls are really close. But remember, that's not what's really important. What's really important, actually, are the states, how they are doing in each state, because they have to get electoral votes in each state. But the latest polls show, state by state, that it's not good for Trump. Not good for Trump. If the election were held today, according to the Daily Wire, the average of state polls gives Clinton 272 electoral votes without any of the toss-up states included. So that's pretty much what she's guaranteed if the election is today. In other words, at this point, she wins easily. Though many polls are painting a rather gloomy picture for the Republicans, some surveys offer a glimmer of hope, which show nationally they're tied. But forget nationally, look at the electoral map. It's not good when you look at it and you look at the Real Clear Politics average of polls on the state level. Clinton's pretty much already won. She's got 272 electoral votes. Oh, this election season is so depressing. Is it not depressing? It's like, and the sad part is so much of it was absolutely predictable. That's some beyond reason economics for you. Not doing the things we should be doing. The Obama administration keeps doing the things we shouldn't be doing. The Obama administration keeps increasing regulations. And we have two people that want to grow government running for president. There you go. We are listening to Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app, and I will be right back.
You know what's beyond reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio.
There are so many clothing fads out there that are just beyond reason. But here at Beyond Reason Radio, we want to let you in on a new patriotic fad that will never fade. That fad stands for Freedom All Day. Freedom All Day is the latest apparel brand for the true patriot who is not afraid to show it. Their mission is to give people an opportunity to show patriotism all year and to do it while looking good. Check out their latest stuff, including their newest t-shirts at freedomallDayapparel.com. At freedomallDayapparel.com, you can find all kinds of different cool-looking t-shirts, and they are all made in America. Go to freedomallDayapparel.com and be part of the fad that never fades.
It would be beyond reason not to listen to Yaffee on your TuneIn Radio app. Download the app today and search Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. You're listening to Orlando Smart Talk Radio. This is another edition of Beyond Reason Radio here at BeyondReasonRadio.com and the Beyond Reason Radio app and Facebook Live as well. So one thing that's definitely beyond reason, I don't know if this leads me, we're going to get to the flabbergasted story in a second, but I just think this is interesting, and I think it's cool. I don't know about you, but I think it's cool. They just passed new safety rules to allow commercial drones to fly in the skies. This could be small commercial drones that are designed to protect that cops could use. They're already using it, but it could be small commercial drones, maybe like what Amazon wants to do and deliver packages to you, or Domino's Pizza wants to deliver pizza via drone. The Federal Aviation officials are estimating that 600,000 commercial drone aircraft will be operating in the U.S. within the year. 600,000. It's a brave new world, people. Brave new world. I think it's cool, though. I'm not against new technology. See, people think because I'm a conservative, I'm against change. I'm not against change. I think some of the new technology is really cool, actually. And they needed to have some kind of regulations for it to be able to work, for the infrastructure to work. But the new rules are coming in place. I don't know what you guys think about that. I mean, I kind of want a pizza right now, and it would be nice to be able to go on my phone, push the button, and have a drone deliver it to me pretty quickly. Am I wrong on that? Is it bad that the first thing I thought about was food? I'm such a guy. I'm such a pig. The first thing I think about is it could deliver food to me with these new drones. I don't know. I think it will be pretty cool. Eventually, though, I mean, you're going to have drone taxi cabs. I saw something about that. Drone taxi cabs, where it'll be an unmanned drone. It'll be like Uber, but it'll be an unmanned flying drone that comes and picks you up and takes you where you need to go. I saw another story out a couple weeks ago that was calling for tall apartment complexes to build drone landing areas so you could land drones on them if you want to take one of these taxi drones or your own drone and fly around. So I think that's pretty cool. I don't know about you. I think it would be awesome. I'm just saying. All right. It is that time of the show once again.
There are a lot of stories that are beyond reason, but some stories are so unbelievable, so crazy, so unexpected, that there is only one way to describe Yaffee's reaction. Now for stories so beyond reason, they left Yaffee flabbergasted.
Yes, and stories so beyond reason, they left Yaffee flabbergasted. Amy commented on Facebook Live again, and she said, what would the tip be for drone delivery? Yeah, do you tip a drone? I guess not. Of course, if you don't tip the drone, then the robots will rise up against us and kill us all, and make us their slaves, like in Terminator. So there's that. Does that answer your question? Yeah, I think I might have scared her to death. All right, stories so beyond reason, they will leave you flabbergasted, and this one definitely left me a little flabbergasted. Other than the Kaepernick thing, Kaepernick not standing for the pledge and all that nonsense, that definitely leaves me flabbergasted. But I talked about enough of that early in the show. I like to find some other stuff out there, and this one is, leave you flabbergasted. I got this from PJ Media. Jessica Alba, actress, she was on what's a good movie she was on? Fantastic Four. She played the Invisible Woman on Fantastic Four. It's a good one. Pretty actress. Been in a bunch of movies, TV shows, all that stuff. Jessica Alba gets on her high horse. She says, protect children from martial arts. One of my biggest regrets, actually, is I didn't do martial arts as a kid. I don't know. I kind of wish I would have done karate or martial arts as a kid. I think it would be good. I think martial arts teaches a lot of good things, but not her. No. This is someone who's made millions of dollars off movies where she uses martial arts. But we need to protect the children from martial arts. So the article says, don't you love it when Hollywood makes a bunch of violent movies with guns and fighting, makes billions of dollars off of it, and then wants to tell us to not like fighting or guns? That happens all the time. Jessica Alba is the latest Hollywood starlet to go public with her disdain of violence, claiming that her daughters ages 8 and 5 aren't allowed to watch her violent movies. Okay, well, that's fine. If they're R-rated, that's fine. But it says she went over the edge by also sanctimoniously claiming that she doesn't even allow her children to see her train Krav Maga, the Israeli Defense Forces training used by their military and also by self-defense instructors worldwide, which, by the way, I think most women should learn self-defense. I think it's a good thing. But she doesn't want her kids to be in martial art. Alba told the USA Today, I don't even do fighting training at home. I go to the gym for that. Okay, that's fine. But the reason why she doesn't do it at home is because she doesn't want her kids to see her do martial arts. Why? Maybe they can learn something. Not only is it necessary for all women to have self-defense training, but it's great exercise which keeps you healthy, strong, and young. You'd think this would be good things. By the way, martial arts, from what I understand, teaches a lot more than just violence. It teaches, exercise, managing your own body, self-discipline, in certain instances, it could teach you, I don't know, good things. Not only, I already read that part. My children have, this is the writer of the article who says, by the way, the article is by someone named Megan Fox, not the actress Megan Fox. I don't think she would be able to write an article like this. That would take a lot of words for her to know. My children have been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu since they were toddlers. If any kid on the playground should make the mistake of trying to beat down my 10-year-old, she could end that attack and get an apology in under 20 seconds with an arm bar. Yeah, I want to learn. I want to be able to do that. I'm just saying. We have not only seen her training by professionals, but she has competed, witnessed professional MMA fights, and watched UFC fighting with her dad. I would think it'd be good kids, but Jessica Alba thinks that kids should not be allowed to watch martial arts. Like I said, so beyond reason, it will leave you flabbergasted. All right, I hope you all enjoyed the show today. I'm going to end the show like I usually do with a Bible verse. If you missed any of the show, by the way, I want you to listen to especially the first 2 segments of the show. And the best way to do that is to download the app, BeyondReasonRadio.com, or download the Beyond Reason Radio app. When I post the podcast of it later, listen from the beginning of the show. Because I talked a lot about, honestly, it's a lot of scary things. In terms of, looking at the Kaepernick thing, we think immediately Black Lives Matter, he hates the country, blah, blah, blah. But there are certain foundational societal things that seem to be breaking down when more and more people do stuff like that. It's a bigger picture here, and it's very worrisome. But I want you to go listen from the beginning of the show, and of course, share with your friends and all that stuff. So, meaning all that, I'm going to read again from Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, whatever is excellent, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And the God of peace will be with you. Thank you for joining me. I will be back Friday, same time, same place. Catch you guys then.